the proper balance of estrogen genetically for a human when they are a female will permanently keep the tendons and ligaments not so much more loose or soft, but able to go from a gel state to a sol state more easily. Therefore, it's like a lot of so it's not really strength range of motion, being able to, say, assume the splits from a sitting position, but being able to kind of wedge oneself into that position. That's the tendons and ligaments. Being able to go softer. Whereas what people associate with usually the splits, like say the Chinese splits or something like that, that's more of a strength range of motion thing. Not just that the body can easily set themselves into that position. That softness of the tendons and ligaments is why there's then later in life issues with bones and bone density. The softer tissues and the softer connective tissue means that the musculature cannot put as much force on the bone, because that's what's rooted to, and therefore using gravity. And the bones, they themselves, especially you could see this in the legs, have a way of twisting. Like you see this in the radius and ulna, that they have a slight twist to them. And that twist is what gives it then a springiness and the spongiform quality of the bones. There's, especially like how kids seem to bounce off of things. That you're like, oh my gosh, but they didn't break a bone. They just bruised themselves and then they keep going. It's because of how loose their tendons and ligaments are, and that sometimes they could fall down or get injured. But it's just amazing how the force of it seems to dissipate through what is a rather loose form of the body. The larger you get, the harder it is to dissipate force over the area, until you learn specified skills, like people who are fighters. You could hit them a lot and they doesn't seem to matter. Like Houdini used to be able to do that, but he had to be prepared to take that force. So men have fundamentally what would be almost considered more rigid bodies. This would therefore put more force on the bone structure itself as we're doing things, because we tend to also be larger generally and have more muscle mass on us, and are taller. There's even more. It actually goes up by orders, the amount of force that is especially like put on the foot bones or put on the leg bones, put on the hip bone. So if you were to set a woman to try to do men's work, you start getting more and more and more muscle damage and micro tears to the tendons and ligaments. Men are meant to kind of get sort of this hardenedness to us, because the tendons and ligaments, and eventually it moves through the fascia, where you'll even get men that'll have like hard feet. Old men that have weird hard feet, they can't really move them by the time they're very old. And it's literally that all of the connective tissue has gotten so dense that they no longer have the right, it doesn't work right anymore. That section of the body doesn't work correctly. You see this with people who are also, say, fighters, will have these really weird looking hands sometimes, and it's because they actually have slowly built up extremely dense connective tissue. All of this is, I'm saying, is because of the intrinsic difference between men and women that's based on athleticism and physicality. There's no way around this. You can't get around this information. This is the way it is. There's no drugs that change this. They only alter it a bit. And so this idea that we're trying to make men and women equal in all these different realms, one of the problems is at some point you're almost bequeathing women tremendous amounts of work injury. And if not work injury, what it is it's a type of compounding set of injuries and micro tears and fissures that just cause a person to be in pain all the time. And it's because we're insisting on living the way that big industry globalists have sold to the liberals we should live. And so there we go. Want to be happy, do it the old-fashioned way.